Welcome to another episode of Progress, Potential, and Possibilities, discussions with fascinating people designing a better tomorrow for all of us. I'm your host, Ira Pastor.
Welcome everybody again to another episode of our show with another really fascinating guest today, helping to create a better tomorrow. Today, we have the honor of being joined by Diagne, who is the director of the African Chelonian Institute, which is an organization with a mission to promote the long-term conservation of turtle, tortoise, and terrapin populations across the African continent through a variety of research, education, and grassroots collaborations. Mr. Diagne is an African freshwater turtle and tortoise expert. He's been working extensively to save threatened and endangered turtle species in the country of Senegal for the past 20 years. He began rescuing endangered African spurred tortoises as a teenager, and in 1992, he created an organization, S.O.S, or Save Our Sulcata, a nonprofit conservation organization. He also co-founded and built the Village de Tortues in Noflaye, Senegal, a sanctuary and captive breeding facility for sulcata tortoises that now houses over 300 individuals and has helped reintroduce numerous others back to the wild. Mr. Diagne is also actively involved in freshwater and marine turtle research throughout Africa. He's a member of the International Union for Conservation of Nature, Tortoise and Freshwater Turtle Specialist Group. In 2009, he decided to create the African Chelonian Institute in order to expand this research, captive breeding, and reintroduction of these species. And then he's also coming off in 2019, a win of the Tusk Award for Conservation in Africa. We're honored to have him with us today. Diagne, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much for this glorious introduction. Yeah, that is, is a really good summary about what is all about today. Is just talking about turtle and tortoise in Africa, who they are, and also the threats they are facing and what we can possibly do in order to address this threat, to mitigate the threats for turtle and tortoise.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I mean, Tomas, I would love to start off because, I've been reading quite a bit about you, and I know I read that, growing up, you didn't grow up in a conservation family. You grew up in a military family, little interest in wildlife. Talk a little bit about the beginning, if you would. Take some time to talk about the early story, because I think that's a very important piece about ultimately how you developed this love for animals.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Ira. Always I used to say I was not born conservationist. I become a conservationist. I was just born in suburban area in Dakar, Senegal, from a family, a medium class family with a father, mother who was a nurse, and my father was a military surgeon, and I was born in this kind of climate, educated people in Africa in that moment, just post independence. We had, I remember I grew up in the environment where my father always make a point to respect animal. you always, if you want a dog, if you want a cockatiel, if you want all these animals, that's nice. I have nothing against that, but you need to understand any living creature have a needs, and you need to be responsible about the animal you decided to take. That is the first lesson my father teach me when I was teenager, and since then I am now in the field of animals. I have still pet animals, but not the turtle anymore, but turtle as a passion. This is the environment I grow up, and little by little I build my skill. The skill was really now important in the adulthood stage to become what I am now, like a conservationist who dedicates his entire life to figure out which strategy we can use in order to promote turtle and tortoise conservation in Africa.
Excellent. And I was also reading that you were originally, you had looked out there and you had seen, there was a lot, especially in Africa, a lot of people were caring about larger animals, whether that was elephants or gorillas or whatever, and you saw a void. You said, what, here's some reptiles, whether the turtles or the tortoises and so forth, that maybe weren't as interesting to other people, but you were pointing out in this particular article that aside from being very interesting to look at and watch and so forth, turtles and tortoises and these Chelonian group that they're defined, they do a lot of important stuff for us. You were talking about in this article important ecological functions. They help disseminate tree seeds. They maintain seagrass meadows. They provide food for other animals in the chain, the eggs they lay and so forth. Talk about why we should care about turtles and tortoises and Chelonian family in general, and why this is very important to us.
Yeah, in fact, let me go back a little bit for people to understand why we need to protect them in different level.
Right.
First of all, turtle belong in the taxonomic way to the group of to the group of vertebrate. You have big mammals, you have all the animals who have vertebrate in their body. Turtle and tortoise is the most endangered according to the International Union of Conservation of Nature. Is the most threatened vertebrate group in the planet. After that, you have different other. Just after that, you have the primate with different kind of great ape and all these animals. So that's mean the risk of extinction for this group is really high for not all the member, but most of the member of the group of turtle and tortoise. And globally, that is a reality in different continents: Asia, Africa, North America, South America. But if you look at globally and you take Africa apart, Africa is a continent where you have good, really important diversity of this group, but not so much knowledge or conservation action undertake to understand at least what's going on in this species. They are declining, their status is still okay or not. We are in the point where we don't have, for much of the species who live in Africa, this type of information. The reason is people who get involved in the ground in order to provide this type of information are not there. Most of the scientists who show up in Africa is from the Western country, Europe or America, and stay for a while and go back to their country and publish paper. In order to have better understanding what's going on for this species, you need to live in Africa for a long period of time, and you need to undertake field work for a long period of time. It's not some kind of survey who happen just sometime randomly, who can help understand better the situation. But in my case, I was in the crossroad of information and people I meet when I was traveling after creating the Village des Tortues, S.O.S, in Senegal. In 2001, I started to travel, and what I realized is in Africa is the no man's land. We have so many amazing species, but not enough information. Lack of information was something I just confronted, and I say, okay, if something have to change, you need to come from African conservationists. African conservationists need to get involved in conservation. But mostly that is a good, nice thought, but difficult in the reality, because conservation work is not attractive in Africa. They don't put turtle and tortoise in the priority of conservation, particularly here in West Africa. At least in Eastern and Central and Eastern and South Africa, you have people involved in the conservation of these species. But for West and Central Africa and East Africa, we have really a huge gap. Turtle and tortoise, first of all, as I told you, is belong to the most endangered, the most threatened vertebrate in the planet. But turtle and tortoise in Africa also belong to the place where if you are threatened, this is the last place you want to be, because they are under study and under protected. And the combination of these two factors lead me to a conclusion, Thomas. If you want to help turtle and tortoise, you need to set up an organization whose main focus is going to be Africa. Africa with protect, study, understand, provide information for turtle and tortoise of Africa. You just need to focus. Africa also is big.
Right.
We, as the desert of Sahara is the size of United States of America. It's just big. It's a huge continent. A small organization led by me cannot pretend covering all these areas. We decided to focus more in West Africa. The reason we decided to focus in West Africa is West Africa had more the habitat lost, and all the threats turtle and tortoise are facing in Africa occur in the really high scale here in West Africa. Habitat destruction, livestock overgrazing, collection for pet trade, all these things happen in the large scale here in West Africa, and lack also of information. That's why I decided to make a focus for West Africa. And I belong also to this region too. It's gonna be more easier to be based in Senegal and do like a starfish and do different project in different country covering West Africa area. Now we have active places, active project, conservation project in different countries in West Africa, including Cote d'Ivoire, including Benin, including different part of Senegal, and we just put the first step. And now what is important is for African, in order to help African to do more in conservation, we want to make conservation work more attractive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is just a small summary I wanted to give you in order to explain why what led me to create the African Chelonian Institute
Mm-hmm.
in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
That is just the feeling I had.
Yep.
But since
Yep.
then, so many things happen, and
Yeah.
during the conversation, I can go in deeper details about that.
Yeah, I think, you know, I very much appreciate that background and you sort of laying the ground for us about where things stand in that context. But yeah, I mean, let's go into the Institute now, because it has a rather broad purview in terms of breeding facility, education, facilities for reintroduction, and sort of researching various aspects of the turtle's life cycle. And then also, you know, you have, Tomas, you've really put together a very comprehensive group of partners in this initiative. I mean, I'll name some of them here: National Geographic, the Columbus Zoo, Mohammed bin Zayed Species Conservation Fund. So you're really generating a lot of partnerships all over the place. Take us a little bit back about sort of, you know, what went into setting everything up when you founded the organization, and how you attracted some of these partners.
Yeah, thank you. When I started the African Chelonian Institute in 2009, that was really difficult to convince people to provide help to this young organization led by an African, and with in the context where we don't have much information or much background about conserving animals, this type of animals in Africa. When you talk about, in that moment, talk about conservation of animals, wild animals, your eyes go straight to Kenya or East Africa, where they study lions,
Mm-hmm.
big animals like megafauna.
Right.
The megafauna was getting all the attention and the funding too for conservation in Africa. A new subject, people didn't like too much the idea of new subject in the field of conservation. And I understand in that moment, I needed to increase our visibility, what we was doing, and how these animals was give really incentive to people to care. Because if you don't feel connected, conservation is, first of all, something who are strongly related to feeling. If you don't feel the need of conserving animals, you are never going to be in the conservation field. Mm-hmm. You are not going to be able to support that. In order to feel connected with an animals, you need to know the animals. You need to have some kind of interaction with the animals. Can be physically, can be image, can be something who can connect you and make you feel you need to get involved in conservation. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking in that moment, turtle and tortoise was not really well represented in Africa, at least in terms of publicity. And I needed to increase that. That's why we launched different type of collaboration with people, with organization too. Like Mohammed bin Zayed helped us a lot in order to work in Côte d'Ivoire with to save a threatened tortoise. Name is Bell's Finishback tortoise in Côte d'Ivoire forest. Is one of the last forests of West Africa. Is one of the site of the biodiversity hotspot in worldwide. And after doing good things in the field is important, but making also, we was missing one point. We were missing the point of taking a time to, and time and money, also resources, in order to make publicity of what we are doing, for other people to see and learn. That was important, and we decided in that moment that it's good to use our resources, our limited resources, in for field work and stuff in the ground. But most importantly, we needed to publicize more our output, also our challenges too, because we was in a really new field in terms of conserving these species. And in addition, also, I wanted to mention, gradually, by increasing our publicity, we increase also our reputation in terms of doing good conservation work. And reputation is something who can help you build partnership, because people like to work in the new field where people can get stuff done in terms of conservation. And that was the key approach. We use it for years, and now this strategy pay off, because we are increasing our partnership with other organizations. It's not only the organization who provide funding, but they provide more than funding.
Yeah.
They provide also technical assistance for subject who get subject we don't have expertise for, and all these things are really amazing. But we started the breeding facility itself is some kind of that is now our main focus. We build the new center of, because the two centers we had was temporary in order to hold our collection, but now our collection is growing, and we are now building a new facility in Ngazobil, near Joal, where we have our base, and the new facility will have really is going to be a tool for promoting turtle conservation. We will have a library, we will have dormitory for students, we will hold like the African Scholarship Program. The first inaugural session was this year in February, where we bring back from West Africa wildlife professional students in order to give them proper training, the training they need in order to start something in their country. This is some kind of capacity building program. We launched it this year, and we want to do it each year. So then in order to reduce the cost of that, we want to build in the institute a place, a dormitory and a conference room where we can have session and all these things. And in the same time, some species, endangered species, will be bred in this facility, and this facility will be open to the public, because we have education component in our strategy. We needed to fill that gap, and people can be able to see animals, turtles, and be able also to participate by paying entrance fee to fundraise for our program and our organization. One of the things who are going to be in this breeding facility is the Sea Turtle Rescue and Rehabilitation Center. This center we are facing in Africa a huge amount of sea turtle who get cut in fishing net and get wounded, and their wound is always something who are sometimes severe, and even when they need a rehab phases where we can take care of them and provide a proper housing for them to just heal, for their wound to heal and get released back in the marine environment where they belong. And so then this, in this facility, we are going to have this component inside with a huge tub where we can oversee the animals who get their care daily until they will be ready to get released. That is one component. This is for the sea turtle. Each group of turtle in Africa, like freshwater one, Tortoise one, and sea turtle, will find a home inside the institute. And we will have also the in this an exhibit for turtle, all the turtle, the order Chelonia started in like when you say when you say Lucy, like the Australopithecus africanus, who was found in Ethiopia, was the ancestor of humankind, you can say the same things for turtle and tortoise. Tortoise africanus was who lived in South Africa 260 million years ago, was the ancestor of all the turtle and tortoise in the planet. So the story of turtle and tortoise started in Africa. In that moment, geologically, we have a huge entity named the Pangea, but their fossil was found in South Africa. So that's another reason to think the continent where the story of turtle and tortoise started needed to get better attention for this kind of species. So one exhibit will be dedicated in explaining in the casual way, not explaining with graphic and all these things, because people want to. My vision is for people, when they learn, they get fun when they learn. Like we are gonna build that in the way where they are interactive, and they are gonna show these animals, Tortoise africanus, 260 million years ago, who didn't look like a turtle at all. It looks like in that moment a lizard with a big fat ribs, and this is how the shell, that was the first shell who was created by these animals. And along the way, like for 14 million years ago, 40 million years ago, later, you have what we name Centrochelys Castendae, who show up and was the first turtle the way we know them now. That was the invention of the shell, the carapace. And all the turtles have a shell. If you don't have a shell, you are not a turtle. And this is the moment where turtle, the way we see the turtle now, was invented. Like between all the stage, we will explain in the casual way this evolution and pointed out the fact that the reality that everything started here in Africa, that is important. And also in this exhibit, I already collect so many, at least 80 or maybe even more, because the collection keep growing, artifact and tribal art related to turtle in Africa, in different culture, from Central Africa, from the Bushmen and all these things, all the different object, and also tale, story, and all the stuff I can find related to turtle and tortoise was collected, and now is in my private collection who are going to be donated to the institute. And like a museum, we are going to show like different objects, like musical instrument, try from the Congo or from Morocco, the Gimri, who the resonance chamber of the musical instrument is made from a tortoise shell. And all these really beautiful and amazing artifacts I found so far will be displayed with their story. We are also the tribal art which they belong, and the story behind the object. And everything will be in that display to just highlight how turtle and tortoise are important, and in Africa. All these components will be at the institute, the way we are going to build it. But now we are in the first stage. We are in the architectural design. We already purchased the land with the help of National Geographic and Tusk Award. And now I think we are in the architectural design who take a lot of time, because I always put new change in the draft. The architect is not really happy about that, but that is the reality. My brain changed a lot, and I'm thinking about the future. And hopefully from now to 1 year, we are going to begin building the institute, really. But we already fundraise, but it's not enough. But we are going to build it in stage. Like we do the first stage, and we say, okay, we don't have enough. We get here, and we need to fundraise more. And from showing our result, we can be able to get more funding and move forward. That is the institute vision. At the end, what I want, really, Ira, I want for Senegal and this institute to be the hub for turtle and tortoise conservation in Africa. To be able to receive people, to be able to receive scientists, to be able to receive researchers, all people who want to know more or do more for turtle and tortoise in Africa. The library also is now taking off. We have so many references, not for African turtle and tortoise, but for Chelonian around the world who are donating books and all these things. And we are just referencing that for students who want to get involved in different subjects. They come over there and they can have a resource to at least do their homework or their bio work in order to know in the subject they choose what is available in terms of documentation. That is important.
You know, Thomas, just for our education, because this is, a very new and interesting topic, but when I was looking at the Rodin Center, which you were just, you were talking about sort of the work in terms of the not just the education, but the reintroduction, and they were highlighted on the website a couple of different species that you specifically, the African forest hingeback, which is endangered on the IUCN, and then the Homiana, which is critically endangered. When you do ultimately release some of these specimens back into the wild, what does that look like? I mean, how many is that, in the sense, is it 100, 100,000? What's normally involved with, after the breeding, putting these back on the beach in Senegal and letting them on their way? Just walk us through that a bit, because for those of us that are unfamiliar with what species reintroduction for something like this may look like, explain that.
Yeah, to be honest, you have a mitigate feeling when you are doing that. Mitigate feeling because by reality, that is the way to go. You need these animals. I consider turtle and tortoise as a wild animal. Even if you give them the better care, you love them so much and you give them the better care you can do, if they have possibility to go back in the wild, they will take this possibility. They are not gonna, they are not like dog who need our constant care and attention. Turtle are really wild animal in the sense where they always will choose freedom than being captive, even if you provide the better care in the planet. This is one things I learned. These things I learned about turtle on Tortoise, and you know, when you raise these animals, they hatch in your facility, and you raise them until they are ready to be released. You spend so much energy of providing care and money to provide care for these animals, and now you are gonna leave them in their own on their own, and is something really you have you consider them as your belonging or your property, and now your baby at least, and now you are in the point where leaving them by, and you know, nature are full of danger and predator.
Sure.
But this is the way to go, you know, by is not instinctively you are just protective to them, but in the other hand also you think, okay, even if it's hard emotionally, this is the way to go. These animals will prefer liberty, freedom, than, even if it's difficult, freedom is difficult things to manage.
Sure.
But they will prefer that. And that is something who help you to just always keep releasing back animals in the wild as soon as possible. I consider now our facility is like a hospital where we take care of animals where they are in need, or we reproduce them over there. And this is a stage, but nobody wants a patient to be all the time in the hospital. Hospital is not a home for the patient.
Right.
So then you is a phase in the process of healing, and as soon as possible, we release them back in the wild. And also, one of the function of this center is to provide education.
Right.
That is important.
Yep.
This is why you can promote the long-term conservation. When people can interact with these animals, can see them, like when kids are coming in this center, and so for the first time, the pip of the young tortoise who are just breaking the shell of the eggs and coming out. This kind of imprint of memory of this event for these kids are just so strong that you are pretty sure you are building now the next generation of turtle conservationists.
Right.
Because this memory of this privileged moment for the lifestyle in the animals will be forever imprinted in this kid memory. Yeah, that is important.
You know, it's interesting because, you know, one of the other things you mentioned, and it's also part of the center, you know, it sort of vision is, you know, studying turtle or Chelonian genetics. And, you know, one of the interesting areas that we talk a lot about on the show is sort of this area of comparative biology and aging. And as you know, many of these species, especially the tortoises, I think there was one from I think that the longest record is from the Seychelles, maybe, but the some of these species live very long, a lot longer than you and I. Any interesting work that you foresee, or researchers that have contacted you that are interested in studying aging in Chelonians, because it is such a marvel, let's say, of long life?
Yeah, currently we have a student who are interested about this aspect and are now doing his biblio review in order to, he's going to be a student on master degree, and he's going to figure out work in this aspect. I already provide him all the reference I had in my library in order to read them and figure out what we have in the oldest record for animals who live in captivity. That is interesting subject because turtle and tortoise so far are one of the long-lived vertebrate in the planet. We had a really amazing record of how these animals can live really long. And also in terms of research, in the projection of research, that is important because we need to, if we understand maybe more about which mechanism is the body of the animals react in order to live longer like that, maybe some aspect can be translated to humankind. And it's going to help medicine, it's going to help all these things. That's why, Ira, it's important to preserve species.
Absolutely.
Because always when we talk to people and say about conservation, they don't see the need of preserving the potential of biodiversity for humankind. Humans depend on biodiversity. If we didn't have biodiversity, it's impossible to produce our food itself. Only plants can do that. Plants can, with water, soil, and the sun, make their own food and grow from that. With photosynthesis. But humankind, particularly mammals, cannot do that. They rely on other animals to have their own food. That's why protecting not only turtle but biodiversity is important. Turtle is just an aspect of the piece of the puzzle. But always I kill myself trying to explain that and trying to explain how it's important. But most of the people don't get the point. Sadly.
Well, that one's a I think there's obviously there's many, but that's one of them where it's like, look, you know, do you want to live to 200 at some point? Well, we might want to keep these Chelonians around so we can study how they do it, because they obviously have found important ways to do it. So,
and also, Ira, I'm gonna tell you one thing. One of the aspects who just fascinated me about turtle behavior and turtle metabolism, the way they function. You know, in the climate, like in the northern hemisphere, where I'm going to give you an example, in Canada or this area of northern United States, when in the winter, a turtle, a freshwater turtle are inside a pond, and the pond in the winter freeze and everything is ice. Can you imagine how an animal can survive for the next spring? The animals itself, the turtle, the body of the turtle are inside the mud, underwater, and freeze in the same time than the pond in the winter. And the entire body freeze, and some part of the body of the animals, like the turtle over there, like the head and the sensitive part of the animals, like the brain situated in the head, and also the heart, have a special alcohol who get produced in order to protect that. But they stop, even the heart stop beating and freeze and wait. Gradually, when the spring come, and gradually the temperature is gonna go gradually get warmer and warmer. In some stage, the animals come back to life. The heart start breathing. All the function, vital function of in the body started again, all over again.
Yep.
That is unique.
Oh yeah.
In the vertebrate.
Oh yeah.
Mammal can do that.
Yeah,
it's unique.
it's
why you wanna rip out of the planet these animals we have a lot of things we need to learn about these animals. Absolutely. How they function, their metabolism, their everything. I have to say turtle are understudied in the term of all these aspects who are not related to conservation directly, but if you don't conserve these animals and they disappear before even you know about them, that is going to be a huge mess for humankind. Absolutely. And this is exactly where we are going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Tomas, while I have you, I mean, I obviously this is the Tomas Diagne show, but I would love for you also, if you could, just for a few minutes, say a few words about your wife Lucy, because I was reading that in this marriage you study chelonians, but she studies manatees, and you together have founded also the African Aquatic Conservation Fund in Senegal, which she directs. Say a few words about Lucy, about manatees, and about sort of the joint work you do.
Okay, I'm just so happy to say about that. In fact, we meet for the first time in the conference, Sea Turtle Conference in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, here in the U.S.
Yep.
And Lucy is just some kind a partner, companion, and I was alone for a long period of time, because if you spend all your time thinking about turtle, this is the kind of work who is not working in the post office, like you have your hours of working, and after that, this is something who get you in each moment of your life you spend. If you want to be in the level where I am, you just spend a lot of time dealing with that, and this time also can have an impact on your lifetime, like your time you should use to do family stuff, and you need to have a companion, a wife who can understand you. And I travel a lot, that is also impacting everything. But if you have biologist wife who are in the same boat than you, we always say we are in the same boat. Because she can understand exactly the reality of and the contingency of my work, and that is just great having this type of partner. And we also, when I'm in the field and I get information about his field of expertise, like manatee or dolphin, because she's working also with marine mammal, I just grab information, and we are just a partner. We help each other, and that is great in the couple. Couple need to help each other, and we are complementary, and that is important. And her work with dolphin is just amazing. She's now working with doing photo ID for the biggest population of critically endangered dolphin in the central Senegal. I think it's a bottlenose dolphin or something like that, and it's just amazing. I learned a lot about his procedure, and she learned a lot about my procedure too. And believe me, it's never boring to see a couple of biologists in the dining table. If you get invited in the dining table, that is a kind of interesting discussion. Because,
I can imagine. Although she probably doesn't bring the manatees home.
No. And thanks God, she's not bringing the manatee home. Manatee is too big to be at home.
Yeah, no, I get that part.
It's like having an elephant in your in your room, and but for me, I cannot say the same things about me. Most of the time, I bring turtle home. The turtle are smaller than manatee.
Yeah. It's a fascinating story, Tomas. I really appreciate you sharing it with us. As I mentioned at the beginning, you won the Tusk Award in 2019, and that really generated a lot of important PR for the organization. Did I miss anything? Anything that you want to mention that I didn't touch on? Please take the floor to wrap up.
Yeah. I won also in the same year the National Geographic Buffett Award for leadership in conservation in Africa, presented by the Foundation National Geographic in partnership with the Warren Buffett. No, not the Warren Buffett. Howard Buffett, the son of Warren Buffett, Howard Buffett Foundation. That was also important achievement of my career, and also the first award I won it just in the beginning was just so important. Launching my career is the Rolex Award for Enterprise in 1998. Was just in the beginning, and that is all these distinction in outside my country is important, because that's mean we are in the right direction, and we just need to keep doing our work and improving our work and trying the best we can. And somewhere along the way, our effort is going to pay off. That is just you need to, as a turtle, one of the quality of the turtle is you need to be persuasive and stay in the field despite difficulty.
Right.
We need to have the same things in our case in order to protect these wonderful animals in Africa.
Absolutely. Wonderful story, Tomas. I really wish you the best with this and the organization and everything moving it forward. For everybody that is going to be listening to this episode on the podcast networks or watching on our YouTube channel, again, you've been listening to Tomas Diagne, Director, African Chelonian Institute, doing amazing things to promote the long-term conservation of turtle, tortoise, and terrapin populations all across the African continent through research, education, and grassroots collaborations. Tomas, I want to thank you again for taking the time out of your schedule to come talk to us for a little while about these topics. Thank you for everything you're doing there at the Institute. And as we like to say on our show, thanks so much for helping to create a better tomorrow. A really wonderful story.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me and sharing with all your audience these kind of aspect for African turtle conservation. Thank you so much.